Why Americans stay poor. The education system taught us to go to school, get a job, get a 401k, and get debt. The American dream, right? You work really hard, you go to school, you get a grade point average, then you get out of school and you get a credit score. And you want to keep that credit score good. Your parents tell you, watch your credit score, watch your credit score. And then what you do is you spend $100,000 on an education, you get out of that education, you have a huge bill for the education, and then what they tell you to do is you go get a car on a 78-month auto loan, which you can extend out your buying power 78 months. And then you go get a 30-year mortgage and you get a credit card and you want to buy stuff because you're in a job that you hate, you're miserable, and so you want to continue to keep up with the Joneses so you can keep that dopamine going. It's a cycle that they created, which is called the American dream, which is actually the American debt trap. So if you see me talk about assets paying for liabilities and our boat, we finally got our boat, but I want to share with you. This is the boat, and this is my daughter Raven. She is wakeboarding right here, okay? She's a professional wakeboarder now. So we're both professional wakeboarders now. We've been wakeboarding for about 2 weeks, and we are professionals. I want to explain to you guys how this boat, the liability, was bought by assets, okay? So here's what the normal American does. They get income, they get debt, okay? So they have $100,000 in income, okay? And what they do is they want to extend their buying power. So they get a $30,000 loan for a car, and now their buying power is $130,000, but their income did not increase. So what do most people look for? Be honest with yourself. You're like, what is the payment for this $30,000? You don't care about the interest rate, right? You're like, what is the payment? How far can I extend it out? You increased your buying power up to 130,000, but your income did not increase. So what you're doing is you're making yourself poorer in the future, because if you don't beat 2% inflation every single year, so if your boss isn't gracious and gives you a 2% raise every single year, you're actually becoming poor. Your buying power of your income is going down, and you're extending yourself without increasing your income, okay? So I wanted a boat in 2020. I wanted a boat in 2021. I wanted a boat in 2022. I wanted a boat in 2023, and I wanted one in 2024. But I told my daughter that we are not getting a boat until assets will pay for liabilities. That's called discipline, okay? Now here's how we did it. Here's what the wealthy do, is they take income and they transmute it into assets. Always into assets. Well, why would we do that? Because your income is inflationary. If you don't increase, or if you don't put your money into assets, you're at the mercy of inflation. And if you don't beat 2% inflation every single year, the US dollar is not backed by anything. The Federal Reserve is not Federal nor Reserve, and the US dollar's collapsed 99% since they were created. You get poor every single year. So what we do is we take income, we put it into assets. I put it into things like cryptocurrency that have fixed supplies. I put it into insurance, and I put it into cash generating dividends. They have dividends that have options. You can go into on the stock side, right? You have high return dividends that are trading in options. You have things like Michael Saylor has some preferred stocks that are, weighted off of obviously Bitcoin, things like that. You have Apple, you have Coca-Cola. So basically dividend stocks are where you put money into a stock and you get a quarterly, monthly, sometimes weekly dividends, okay? So we take our income, we put it into assets, we put it into things like insurance, we put it in dividends, and then it creates leverage components. And then what we do is we buy cash flow with the leverage component, and then from there, we buy the asset. So here's how I did it personally, okay? I had a rule that I created within my own family ecosystem. Our debts and non-negotiables, I'm very strict on that. I know exactly what my net is around debts and non-negotiables. That's bills, food, shelter, mortgage, everything, okay? I know exactly what that is. So my rule was, until this right here, dividends, or my leverage buying cash flow, paid for all the debts and non-negotiables, I could not get the boat. So I included that into the debts and non-negotiables. We hit it through dividends, and guess what? I bought the boat. And I took it to another level. Because of the type of businesses I have, we rent boats all the time, we take our team members out. Not only could this be paid for by dividends, but it also became an expense because of the type of companies that I own. So very, very important to understand. You have to be patient. I could have got it through my income very easily. I could have got it in 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, but what would happen is it's a $160,000 boat, okay? It's a wake boat. If I would have done that, I would increase my buying power by 160,000 by stretching it out. Boats are minimum 20 years, right? But what I did is I robbed myself of that $160,000, okay? Because that payment would have been paid for the next 5 years. Instead, I took the income, I put it into assets, I put it into insurance, which created leverage. I bought dividends, and now this can all pay my debts and non-negotiables, which includes this. And now I'm buying the asset, the liability with assets. That's how you get wealthy. It takes patience, it takes persistence, it takes consistency. So when you start making income, you shouldn't be buying debt, you should be buying assets, insurance, and dividends. That's what you should be doing with your income. Who cares what kind of car you drive? Nobody cares. You care, but nobody else does, okay? You can get all the fancy stuff. So when we go out on that boat, everybody else is stressed about the gas, everybody's stressed that they can't afford the next payment, and we're driving something that's being paid for by OPM. This is how you get wealthy, okay? So the rule is, for me, and it should be for you, until your family is taken care of, through assets, debts and non-negotiables, you shouldn't be buying things for pleasure. But once you get there, you can start to buy these things. There's many different factors in regards to the expense component for businesses. I got dividends that can easily pay this 10 times over, right? Within the next year, I could pay this off with dividends, right? So I just wanted to show you guys this to start getting your brain thinking differently. And again, I'll bring it up again. It took discipline, it took consistency, and looking at things. I wanted the boat 2021 through 2025, but I didn't need the boat. Now that we got the boat, by waiting patiently, the vibration is completely different. So this is how you stay poor: income, debt, poor; income, assets, insurance, dividends; leverage, buy cash flow; to buy the liabilities. That's how you get rich. Warriors, rise, get your shit together.